Hi, it's Mal, your gal pal, the host of Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. If you're looking for a podcast that's talking about relationship, careers, and pop culture from the Christian perspective, look no further. You have found her. And this podcast, myself and some of my friends are sharing our opinions from the Christian perspective, and they might be a little bit different than what you're expecting. So go ahead, pour yourself some tea. Let's get into it. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. I am Mal, your gal pal, and this is. Say your name.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to start over?
You're good. Literally every single person does it. Honestly, it's part of being a guest.
Point to a logo.
Oh, no, sorry. I don't know how it looks on your screen. I was pointing at you. To me.
Oh, okay.
You're
so sorry.
Right,
okay,
anyway, sorry. No, it's cool. This is part of the show, essentially.
Okay. Hi, I'm Illiana.
Welcome, Illy, back to the show.
Happy to be here.
Have fun here, everybody. Welcome back. I'm super excited for you guys to hear today's episode. I am fighting a cold, so you might randomly see me mute, and just know that I am suffering. I'm one of God's sacrificial soldiers today. It's truly all those memes where they're like, oh, you don't really know how it feels to have a clear nose until you don't. That's truly what I'm going through right now. So,
my heart is with you.
So that's kind of what's going on for those who are listening or watching, if you're watching on YouTube. Anyway, we're going to be talking. Illy was on, and I'll try to remember to link her previous episode. It was a really good episode. I personally learned a lot, and I'm going to learn a lot again today because I really don't know a lot about this topic. But as we do here, we're talking about life, career, relationships, pop culture, and all of these things from the Christian perspective. So life, this would go under our life category, just kind of talking about what are some ways that we can live out our faith and be healthy and, bring glory to God in this type of way, I guess you could say. Because when we think about that, we always, quick rant, and then we'll get into the, but I've been thinking about this a lot. It's just kind of whenever we think about yeah, I'm going to serve God as a pastor. I'm going to serve God as leading a ministry, but there's other ways we can serve God and bring glory to Him in other fields, and even in just the way of our countenance and how we're living our life. So we're going to talk about some of those just random things in that. We're going to be talking about our nervous system. So first, actually, before anything, Illy, can you just tell us a little bit about what you do and how are you qualified to talk about this topic?
Yeah, well, okay, a couple things. So I own a company called A Time to Heal, where we help women heal physically, emotionally, mentally. It all goes together, right? And I specialize in our business with emotional and mental health, and specifically the nervous system. And we'll talk about it today. When we heal the nervous system, or when our nervous system is dysregulated, it affects everything from physical to emotional and mental. The reasons that I'm certified to talk about this is I am a certified recovering nervous system girly. My entire life, my nervous system was so dysregulated, it led to CPTSD, and I lived with a pretty crippling case of dysregulated nervous system, anxiety, depression, PTSD, all the fun mental issues that come with that kind of health issue. And it also led to a chronic illness, and I healed myself. I figured it out. I did a ton of research and kind of dedicated my life to figuring it out. The doctors told me I really had zero chance of living a happy, fulfilling life if I lived past 18 at all. And I don't like being told what to do. So I figured it out. I did a ton of research, and I've made it my life's purpose to help other women who are going through the same thing. So that's kind of what I do. And I'm in my clinic today. I'm in Colorado. I do in person, and I also do virtual for across the country. So I help women heal. I help women heal their nervous systems, and I help women really create a life that they love and can healthfully live in to best serve them and their purpose, and to live out what God asked them to do.
Love it. I love it. I'm super excited to get into this.
Me too.
Let's get into some of our questions. For someone who's never really heard of this, what exactly is nervous system regulation?
Okay, so we're gonna get a little sciencey today, folks, but I want to give a really good picture. So obviously our nervous system is one of our central systems in our body. It runs everything. We have two parts of it. We have our, and I'm gonna look at my notes here so I don't mess it up. We have our peripheral and our central nervous system. Our central nervous system is the brain and the spinal cord. So obviously two major factors in our body, right? And our peripheral nervous system is our organs, our limbs, really everything else, right? So that's on the very physical level how our nervous system affects us. Then in our nervous system, we have two aspects. We have our parasympathetic nervous system and our sympathetic nervous system. So, our parasympathetic nervous system is what we call rest and digest. It allows our body to be in a state of healthy flow where we can sleep, we can eat, we can move, we can talk, we can think, right? So, when we're healthy, when our nervous systems are healthy, we are in our parasympathetic stage. Then we have our sympathetic stage, and that is our fight or flight. Now, it's really important that we have this. It has kept us alive for thousands of years. But what's happened is back then, historically, our fight or flight was to keep us safe. If we were hunting for our food and an animal came and was chasing us, that fight or flight would kick in. Our adrenaline would flood through our body so that we could move fast, we could run, and we could survive, right? It was very important in that time with whatever was going on, whether it was natural disasters, predators, whatever it may be. The problem is, typically, here in America, we're not being chased by tigers daily. Like, that's not really a common problem that many of us face. But because of demands of our days, of social media, of different things that we'll kind of get into in a little bit, our nervous systems as a whole, when you look at America, we are chronically stuck in fight or flight. And our bodies actually can't tell the difference between being chased by a tiger and getting a scary email. Like, it doesn't transmit. When we are constantly living in fight or flight, any little thing triggers that fight or flight, that adrenaline in our head, and our brains are constantly going, we are in danger, we can't survive, right? And you hear about the adrenaline when a mom lifts a car fully by herself to get it off of her baby, right? Like, we need that in our every once in a while, and I mean, God forbid emergencies. We do not need that to respond to a scary email from our boss. It's just not a part of what we need in our lives. So that is kind of an idea, a real science-y overview of what our nervous system does. And today we're going to be talking about why it's dysregulated, how we can regulate it, and why it's so important. Obviously, we just got a snapshot of if this is affecting our brain, our spinal cord, our organs, our limbs, it is affecting physically every part of our body. And we'll talk too about how it's affecting our emotions, our mental health, all that good stuff.
So before we move on to the next one, my question, and
Yeah.
this is going to be answered later. You don't have to answer it now, but if our brains are subconsciously reacting that way to emails, there is a way for us not to subconsciously react that way. Correct? Okay.
Absolutely. So the good news is our brains are super smart and we can train them. And we'll talk a little bit about this. We have something called a vagus nerve, which is located in the back of our brains, and it is a good signal to our brain whether we need to be in active flight or flight, or if we're okay, if we're calm. And there's actually ways you can train it and activate it. And so we're going to get into all of that today. The good news is the bad news is, I'll start with that. The bad news is most of us are dysregulated. Most of our nervous systems are really, really messed up. But the good news is it's easy to fix on some level. We can fix, we can train, we can heal our bodies. Our bodies were created to heal. I talked about this before. We have everything we need. We just sometimes need some support. And I am your support today.
And I also think, which is why I really like this that you're on the podcast. I also think we don't know unless we know.
Exactly.
I feel like mine is dysregulated, but like I said, I don't know anything. I don't consume podcasts that talk about that. I'm honestly consuming true crime, which probably also doesn't help. And other like random pop culture podcasts. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if mine's a little dysregulated. So, what are some ways that a dysregulated nervous system really shows up in just like the everyday other girl's life?
Yeah, yeah. It can look like a couple different things. We can kind of start with the mental and emotional. It can present as just constant anxiety. If you're just like, yeah, I'm anxious about everything. all the time. Like
Can
anxiety
we
never turns off.
pause for 2 seconds? Can you describe what is the actual definition of anxiety? The reason why I'm asking is sometimes, like, I have friends who do, like, listen to, I've seen it, like, they get really, really anxious, and it's like a physical, I can see it. So then sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I don't get anxiety because, like, I don't react that way. Now, there are times where I'm, like, so stressed and I'm just so, like, oh my God, like, I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. How do you know
Yeah.
what's, like, actually anxiety versus, I guess, nerves? I don't know. But what's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
definition?
Yeah, great question. So, okay, stress is a response to the things that are happening to us, right? So, stress is, it doesn't particularly have to be a bad thing, but when something happens, our reaction is stress, whether that's a good stress or a bad stress, right? Stress isn't a particularly bad thing. Anxiety is when it actually starts to live in your body. Anxiety is, we've all experienced anxiety at one point or the other. If you were a kid and you went up on stage and you were really scared and you had your butterflies in your stomach, like that is anxiety, right? That physical reaction of the chemicals that are happening in our bodies when it recognizes either what we perceive as danger or something that's just uncomfortable. Where anxiety starts to become a problem is when it lives constantly in our bodies, right? When it becomes second nature. And often anxiety just becomes this roommate that you live with. And so I never want to say like stress is a bad thing because stress is our reaction to the things that are happening around us. It's actually a signal of like, hey, you're alive, right? Like if somebody was just numb all the time and they were like, no, nothing really ever bothers me, I'd actually be more concerned because it's like, okay, what is not, there's no reaction, right? So stress isn't a particularly bad thing. Anxiety is what has happening inside your body, the chemical reactions, and often anxiety can be prolonged. So when I'm going back to your original question, what does a dysregulated nervous system look like? Often it looks like anxiety that has no reason. So, right, stress is a reaction to our external circumstances. Often dysregulated nervous system that presents as anxiety is just this overwhelming sense of doom, overwhelming sense of I nothing's ever going to be okay. I am not okay. Every little thing feels like the biggest tragedy to ever happen, right? Going back to that tiger example, like everything feels like that. And then, for somebody who's not dysregulated, it could be like, why is that stressing to you, right? Like, why does that feel so scary? So, anxiety is probably the biggest one that I see it present itself is just this constant day to day, never goes away. First thing you wake up, last thing you go to sleep, it lives in your stomach. Like, and I know that feeling where just it lives in your stomach and it's just a constant state of dread. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, that answered both of the questions very
Perfect. And I can
perfectly.
go into more. I have like a whole list of what
Yeah,
a
let's go into
dysregulated
some
nervous
more
system. Okay,
ways.
awesome. Okay, so another really big one that I see, especially in our generation, is it can present as this deep discomfort with silence and with sitting still. This constant need to be overstimulated, to be just stimulated, right? Like and look, guys, I'm guilty of this too, but like you'll be watching a show on the TV and you're also playing something on your phone and you also have your earbuds and listening to music and you're still like, man, I'm kind of bored, right? Like this
Yeah,
constant need for just like your brain can never be quiet. And there's often when we have dysregulated nervous systems, almost this fear of being quiet, of having time alone. People who have really dysregulated nervous systems often refuse to do anything alone. It's like, oh, I don't do that. Like they cannot sit with themselves. It's so deeply uncomfortable. Let's see what else. Unexplained digestive issues is a huge one, you guys. Like if you are
that's a
constantly dealing
yeah.
with the bubble guts and the tummy aches and you eat food and you feel nauseous and like you cannot understand what is going on in your digestive system, going back to what we said earlier, right? When we have a dysregulated nervous system, it affects our organs, which is part of, right, our womb, our digestive system, our gut, all of those things. But then you also factor in, if you're living with what we just talked about, that constant state of anxiety or emotional turmoil, it wreaks havoc on our gut. Our gut is our second brain. So it's this weird kind of, if your gut is unhappy, then you can also struggle mentally. But if you're struggling mentally, it can affect your gut. So it's this kind of weird, it bounces off of each other. Like it's kind of this mess. Another big one is like constant. excuse me, constant headaches or migraines is kind of a common theme in this person's life. For the girl who's dysregulated, headaches are a big thing. Again, holding all that tension, which leads me into we can have a lot of jaw issues, TMJ, like because we're just clenching our jaw. We're so stressed. Everything is like so tightly wound, right? So it just naturally, we've got headaches, we've got that jaw pain, we've got tight muscles and muscle fatigue. Like it all starts to paint this picture that you see of like, oh, it makes sense as to why we're feeling those physical things, why we're feeling those emotional things. It can look like really intense hormonal issues. PMS is just like ridiculous. I mean, I've had clients come to me who are like, I think about committing like every luteal phase. I mean, it's like monthly. I can kind of count on it. That's not normal, guys. That's just not normal. And if it is in your life, that's something that we need to be looking at, right? We also have like the post-menstrual depression that can get really bad. And often, actually, when women go into the doctor being like, hey, something is deeply wrong with me and I don't know what, dysregulated nervous system can very often overlap with hormonal issues because they mimic each other and because the dysregulated nervous system so deeply impacts our hormones. So it can often mess with our estrogen, it can mess with our thyroid, it can mess with our period, completely shifting or even missing periods, right? If we're super stressed all of the time, your body does not feel safe to have a chance to procreate in our ovulatory phase and then shed during our menstrual phase. So you can see that when we have a lot of these unexplained health issues and we look deeper on that nervous system level, it is often the key to so many of our problems, especially as women.
This is concerning, but
Don't worry,
this is
we're going to get into the encouraging side of it.
yeah. Let's yeah, let's get there soon. What are some oh well I kind of already asked this, like what are some of the reasons why we have this, like why are women going through this? Well, I guess it's not the exact same question. Like, do you have any thoughts on like why we are, as right now we're as women, especially kind of just like young adult women. I used to say 20s, but now I'm in my 30s, so like 20s and 30s. Like why we're kind of like struggling with this, because some of the things you listed, like you know what, I'm gonna be honest, I definitely experience in my life, and I know for a fact some of my friends do. So it's like, why
Yeah.
is everybody so dysregulated?
Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple reasons, and I'll just start with this, and this is going to be an unpopular thing to say, but we are living in a time that is the most harmful to our nervous system. So we briefly touched on this in our last podcast, but as women, we are beautiful cyclical creatures. We are meant to be living in rhythm with not only our cycle, but also with the earth and the world. We follow the moon. It's just naturally what happens, right? The moon is a 28-day cycle. So are we as women. We live in a world where that is not the reality. We do not have 28-day months. We don't really follow season or cyclically. I encourage all women to get really familiar with their cycle and to follow it because this beautiful picture has happened, right? Go back to the creator. God created our bodies to follow the moon, to follow the four seasons, right? Menstrual is our winter. That should be where we are so internally focused. We are quieting things down. Our life slows down. It's all about warmth and comfort and just slowing down, right? Our ovulatory, that is our summer. We are hot and confident and we are our most sexy, we are our most like outgoing, right? When you can start listening to that is when our bodies start to follow in that natural rhythm. But for most of us, we're not. We're never taught it, right? Like this is just something that I've learned because of my own research. I didn't learn it in school. They don't teach you this, right? We're taught we have a menstrual phase and you kind of come to dread that every month and that's sort of your timekeeper. And so that's a huge piece of I think where we're struggling so much as women is we've completely overridden all of our natural instincts. And look, I consider myself a feminist. I think you should do whatever you want. Like, go out there, get that job, be, the boss babe. I'm not saying like go home and put on a dress and like
Big bread.
bake sourdough. Yeah, like that's not at all what I'm arguing for, never will. But I'm a business owner, you guys. Like, I'm busy, but I've also learned how to completely regulate my nervous system. And a part of that really is listening to my cycle. When I ovulate is when I'm giving all my presentations, when I'm doing most of my filming for social media, when I'm coming on to podcasts, when I am actively putting myself out there. When I'm on my menstrual phase, you will not be seeing me. Like, I'm not filming anything. I'm not showing my face. I am deeply coming inward. I'm doing a lot of my office work. I am doing baths. I am always with a hot compress on my womb. Like, you will not see me during that week of the month, right? And so all of that to say, I give that as a detailed example because when we have this biological urge and this beautiful system and cycle that our bodies naturally work with, and we ignore that and we override that because of the world, right? Like, that's nobody's honoring that. We don't live in a time period where that's really normal or acceptable. We're told to stop the flow, to put a tampon in, and to go on with our day like nothing's happened. And so that's a huge, huge piece that I will always come back to, that we as women are not living in our cycle, in our seasons. We're not listening to our bodies. And then that naturally leads me into, as a society, we have made pain our enemy. If we feel pain, we're popping a pill. We are constantly taught, if you're feeling pain, that is a bad thing. Run away from it at all costs. Whether that's physical pain in your body, whether that's pain in relationships, right? I could go into why, as a generation, we are all struggling with dating and relationships because we don't like pain. Anything that's remotely uncomfortable, we're just like, okay, I'm done. Like, I can't do this, right? And we are taught that pain is the enemy, when in fact, pain is just a messenger. Pain is quite literally just here to say, hey, this is what you need to be paying attention to. And when we honor that and when we look at it, when we take care of it, the pain goes away, right? Pain was not meant to be suppressed. So we have this whole mess where we're not listening to our systems, we're not listening to our cycles, we're completely overriding what we as women inherently know and have known for thousands of years. We're silencing any pain, anything that feels uncomfortable. We can't sit in silence, right? I mean, it is so hard for our generation to sit down and journal and to just sit there and be like, man, I am struggling with this. Or like, wow, this is a deep thought I just had and I really want to sit in that. That is a lost art. That is
Yeah.
not encouraged in any way, right?
I
And
started
so,
journaling, and I have been trying to make it a point to, at the end of every episode, to have like journal questions. It is actually a lot
yes,
harder than I thought. Not
yeah,
necessarily just like sitting down and like trying to write, but it's literally just like getting my mind to quiet and like actually sitting down and doing it. Like, that's the part that's hard. Writing isn't hard. It's the, I find the time, and then I find the time, and then I'm like, okay, focus on this. It's
yeah,
insane. But when I was younger, I used to journal diary all the time. But like now, it's like,
it
it's
is.
hard.
It is. It is, which leads me into my next reason as to why we're all dysregulated. Busy has become a personality trait. We are all
Yeah.
obsessed with being busy, right? We have this sense of time where we fill every second. We fill every second of our day. And we there's pride in it. And I'll admit it, like, I was that girl. I was the boss babe in high school. I was working 3 jobs and everybody knew about it because it's like, oh, I can't, I'm busy. I do this and this and this. And it comes with this inherent sense of pride of, oh, I'm just so busy. That's how we start almost all of our conversations. And it's this weird sense. And again, I've been guilty of it too, of like, when busy becomes your entire personality trait, you never have time to stop. And I think busy is an easy way for us to lose ourselves. Going back to what we were just talking about, when we're shoving down pain, we're taking that ibuprofen, we're not ever stopping. And when we do have a second to stop, we're scrolling. Because if we were to ever sit with our thoughts, that's a terrifying idea for a lot of us. Like, that's a dangerous place. We don't want to go there, right? Like, there's kind of that joke. And when we are constantly running away from that, we constantly throw ourselves into the busyness, we never ever stop, we fill every spare second, it catches up to you. We have a reason for midlife crises in this country. You hit 50, you hit 60, your kids are out of the house, you retire, you have time to sit, and all of a sudden, every single thing you've shoved down over the years comes rushing back. And it typically ruins people's lives because what do you do with 50 years of suppressed pain? Right? That's a lot of pain. And so, also, this is a bit of a rabbit trail. When we suppress emotional pain, guys, it always, always, always will manifest as a physical pain. If I have a woman come into my clinic and she's showing up as nervous and dysregulated and all of the things, and she's like, "Yeah, I have this unexplained chest pain. I cannot figure it out. I've done all the EKGs, I've done ultrasounds, I've done all the things, and there's nothing wrong." Like, well, yeah, your heart is hurting, you guys. Like, that's an emotional pain. You went through a breakup 2 years ago and you've never stopped. You've never once stopped to sit in that pain, and you quite literally shoved it down and is now manifesting as physical heart pain. For women who have thyroid issues, this beautiful piece of our bodies, our throats. If I have a client who come in and they have thyroid issues, and as a kid, they constantly had, coughing issues, or they had all of these issues here, it's because they were never allowed to speak and they were constantly shoving down their things they had to say, and it gets caught. Our words are so powerful, our emotions are so powerful that it transmits into physical pain. And so whenever somebody comes in, they're like, "Yeah, I've always had issues. I've had tonsils issue. I've had this, I've had that. I had scarlet fever as a kid." Yeah. Yeah, you did, because you always shoved your voice down. If you had something to say, if you got mad at your mom, but she was scary and you couldn't say anything, you kept it quiet, that will show up later as physical pain. So it all works together. Our emotional, our physical, our spiritual, our mental, it all comes together. And often at the root of it is our nervous system dysregulation, right? And then we have our habits and our busyness and our shoving things down and our ibuprofen and all the things. And by the way, I'm not against ibuprofen. I use it sometimes. Like, I love it. I love modern conveniences. It is when people are popping it every single day to get rid of this pain, we have to be willing to look deeper.
This is very enlightening.
Yeah.
Convicting is another word that I could possibly use.
Yeah. Hey,
But no,
we're all there in some
yeah.
stage or another.
Yeah, no, this is good information. And it kind of explains just some other stuff, in my own personal life. But this is really good information.
Yeah.
Let's see here. You kind of talked a little bit about like how it could show up, like you said about the throat. What are some other ways like this can show up physically or like with weight and things like that? What are some other ways?
I mean, it's a lot of things. It really is so closely tied to our hormone system and our menstrual cycle and all of the things. So I would say anything that could be traced back to hormones,
Okay, so
right? So that
everything.
could be skin issues. That could be, so I'll share a personal story because I never want to paint a picture of like, I'm like so healthy and I've done all the hard work. Like, you guys, I spend way too much time on my phone. Okay. It's actually ridiculous. And like I said, I lived my entire life in a dysregulatory state. When I healed that, I thought, oh, this is amazing. I'm going to feel so good. And what actually ended up happening is for the first time, my body felt safe. I have never been more exhausted in my life. I was taking naps 3 to 4 times a day. I would sleep in till 11 a.m., go to bed at 8 p.m. I'd have a nap at 3 p.m. Like, all I did was sleep. I was exhausted all of the time because my body for the first time was like, and all of it came up. All of the suppressed stuff, right? My acne, I had beautiful, perfect skin when I was in the height of my PTSD. You would never know it. I looked perfect on the outside. And as I've healed and I'm in my healing and I'm in my soft and I'm listening to my cycle and I'm living my life like that, my skin is flared up. It's all coming out because it finally feels safe, right? So skin is a big one. Fatigue is a huge one. Or on the flip side, the ability to, you can't sleep, where you're just like, I'm exhausted, but I cannot go to sleep, right? Because your body is just constantly going. The example I like to use is if you had a car and you were pressing the gas down, like pedal to the floor constantly, the car wouldn't live very long. Like it just wouldn't have a long span of being able to work. Can you tell I'm not really into cars?
I believe you though. I'm not into cars either.
But our bodies are the same way. If they're going at that adrenaline, at that fight or flight all of the time, that's meant for very short periods of time to survive, to get out of a burning house, to get out of a car accident, to run from a tiger in the, chance that you might be doing that. You're now living in that cycle all of the time. And so your body's either exhausted and you can't seem to get enough sleep, or on the opposite, right? You can't sleep at all because your body doesn't even have a chance to come down. Anything hormone related. So skin, weight, digestive issues is a big one, right? Thyroid issues, your PMS is just terrible, your depression. You should not be experiencing a week, a month where you're like, I don't want to live anymore. That is not normal. Nobody should be feeling that. And it's become normalized, right? And then you get on the pill and that creates other problems. But that is not a normal sensation, right? So anything that's completely dysregulated, really painful period cramps, it should be slightly discomfortable, right? You shouldn't just be like, I love going on my period, but it shouldn't be I have an overwhelming sense of dread every time I start to bleed. That's not normal either, right? I'll mention this briefly. It does mess with your libido. When you're in a dysregulate your libido is either like non-existent or it's like through the roof and you're like, holy moly, I'm trying to be holy here, but like this isn't working. Like you should have a week, a month where you're like, yeah, like I am very aware of my sexuality. But if you're like frothing at the mouth all of the time, consider looking into your nervous system. Perimenopause can be really quite intense for women who are going through this. Irregular or missing periods, like we talked about, heightened cortisol. So that, like, again, that feeling like everything is just the worst ever. Another one that can be kind of the opposite of everything we've talked about is just this emotional numbness, right? Of just this, like, I feel flat, like, the world could be burning in front of me and I just wouldn't care. If you're really feeling either of these extreme, really a good thing to look out for in your natural health when you're being an advocate for yourself and you're just noticing anything that's extreme. If you're extremely happy all of the time and you never feel sad, that's something to look out for. If you're extremely sad and depressed all the time and you can't ever feel happiness, that's something to look out for, right? It's always the extremes. We should be happily here in the middle, being able to hold both joy and sadness at the same time. So if you're swinging in any area of your life on one side really strongly, and you could apply that to quite literally anything, it's something to be noticing.
Okay. That's good. It's always good to know like what to look out for, especially because I mean, some of these things, and you mentioned it, some of these things just are feel normal. I mean, just
Yep.
feeling like
Yep.
absolutely overwhelming sadness once 1 week over a month. It does feel like, oh yeah, everybody gets like that. But just hearing that, like, hey, maybe that's like not how it's supposed to be. It's
Yeah.
good to know. It's good to know.
Yeah. The normal amount of pain is none, right? We
Yeah,
should not be experiencing things that we've normalized as a society. We shouldn't be deeply depressed all the time. And we shouldn't feel constant pain. And we shouldn't feel like those are not normal things. And again, I'll always say this, our bodies know how to heal. And our bodies are actually meant to live in a state of pretty good. Like we should be in a place where we're feeling good 85% of the time, right? Again, we don't want to silence that pain. Pain is a messenger, but it should not be our main emotion. It should not be our main sensation. And it certainly should not be keeping us from our life in any way. If you find, and that's a big one that I'll share, if you're finding that your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health is keeping you from living your life, if you're like, man, I wish I could go do that thing. I wish I could hang out with those friends. I wish I could do that activity or do that workout or go on that hike or eat that food, and your body is keeping you from doing that. That's a really great, easy place to start going, I need to look into this. My body is talking to me.
that's good to know. Good to know. Okay, let's see here. Let's now that we know the bad, let's finally get some good. What are some
I've given you
ways?
a lot of depressing news.
No, it's good because, like I said, like I don't know anything about this, and a lot of things you are like I could have guessed that probably some things are like a little off just because, and then I already know it's my like driving situation that if I could just get that, then I could focus on other things. Not to make it like a personal counseling session, but it's just good to know what are the things to look for because I know I'm not alone in this. And so I guess like the next question is like what are some things that we can do to help with this, especially those of us who are unfortunately working 9 to 5. Like my dream is to work for myself. I would love to work for myself and have a couple people working under me, and then we like work with everybody cycle, like we would
Mhm.
work together and just like try to like that would be my dream, but unfortunately
Yes.
I don't work like that. And I just have a weird work life in general. But anyway, what are some things that those of us who are like 9 to 5 workers, like, what are things that we can do to?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to answer this in two parts really quickly. If you are looking to get out of the 9 to 5 and you're like, I want to love my life. I want to wake up excited in the morning. Part of what I do in my business is I help women do that. I really deeply believe that if we want to heal and we want to be in our best physical, emotional health, we have got to live in a life we are excited to live in, right? It is really hard to heal if you do not want to wake up in the morning to go do your work, to go do your life. If you are feeling the call inside to be like, I'm ready to switch out of this 9 to 5, I want to make it work. The good news is this is like the best time in the world to do it. We live in, problems aside, politically, we live in a really great country to be able to do this. We have the freedoms to be able to do this. And it is my passion to help women start their own businesses where they can listen to their cycle. And they can, like, I love on my period, I work from my bed. I go to the creek and like I work maybe 20 hours that week. And it works. Like I've created a system that works and I help other women do the same. So as a quick side note, if you're wanting to move out of the 9 to 5, if you're wanting to create something on your own, one, it's entirely possible and there's so much money in this world. There's a disgusting amount of money in this world and we are entitled to some of that when you work hard and create the life you want. So if you're interested in that, you can find me on all the chapters and verses on my Instagram or a Time to Heal Instagram. Connect with me there. We'll link all of the stuff
Yeah.
below, but it is something I help women do. But for the women who are in a 9 to 5, there's a lot of good news. There's a lot you could do. Okay. You are not stuck in a dysregulated nervous system because of your lifestyle. Now, I will say it's going to take some work. It's going to take some intentionality on your part, but I want to start kind of in the beginning. Let's start in our morning. We are getting up, scrolling on our phones, right? We're seeing all of the worst news from
Yeah.
all over the world that is happening in a span of 10 minutes. Our first thing that we're waking up to. Then we're comparing ourselves to other people and their lives, which, spoiler alert, nobody's doing better. Like, some of us are maybe happier, but like, we all have our things and everything's falling apart behind the scenes in some way. Nobody's quite as happy as social media makes it. So just a reminder, right? But we get on our phones, we're scrolling, we're getting all of this doom and gloom. And remember, historically, like, we were not supposed to know all of the bad things going on in the world. You were supposed to know the stuff that was going on in your village, in your community. And that was more than enough, right? So let's start with how you can make your morning the most happy nervous system, beautiful little package. So number one, make it as slow as you can. If you have to be at work at 9, get up earlier, right? Get up at 7:30 and have a half hour for yourself where you are getting sunshine in your eyes for those first 10 to 15 minutes. It is vital that we are getting sunshine in our eyes. It resets our circadian rhythm. It tells your body like, "Hey, we're awake now." So then when it's time for sleep, we're setting up a healthy sleep system. So sunshine in eyes, you can literally, the fastest way to regulate your nervous system is to chill the frick out. Literally slow everything down. Sit up slowly in the morning. Do not look at your phone. Put it in another room if you have to. Get a digital alarm clock. Okay. This is something I'm working on too. Okay. Get up slowly. Go make yourself a cup of tea. Avoid, I would say, caffeine and energy drinks first thing, especially, I would say to everybody, but especially if you're trying to heal a nervous system, stick with something that's not caffeinated. I promise you can do it. I am like the most unmorning person you will ever meet, and I don't drink caffeine first thing. Go out into the sunshine. If you live in an apartment, that's fine, okay? My dream is to live on land. That is not my reality right now. But I'm getting outside, I put my feet in grass and I get sunshine in my eyes and I literally sit there in my robe. My neighbors are like, "Why is the crazy lady out again?" And I just sit there and like let the sun wake me up because I don't want to be there either. Like, I'm tired. I would rather sleep, right? But I'm moving slowly. I have a cup of tea. Always start with something warm when we're healing our nervous system. We do not need to be getting up at 5:15 and going doing an ice bath. We just don't. That's not going to help us as women. And I'm speaking to women here. We can talk about men in a different episode, but for
Yeah.
women,
Yeah.
or not actually, we'll just stick with women. We always want to go warmth. Warmth is always our best friend. If it's a little bit cold in the winter, I still go outside. I just have a blanket and it's not particularly pleasant sometimes, but I make myself do it. I am intentional about having something in the morning that brings me joy. If I have a really big event that day, if I have a really big workload, I do yoga, I journal. If you are reading your Bible, you can do that. Prayer, just Something slow and intentional where you're sitting with yourself. You're not listening to music, you're not scrolling. It's quiet, it's focused, it's inward. And I know if you have kids, it does make it harder. And I fully understand. I have children in my home, but it's something you have got to do, right? We have got to put our oxygen mask on for us before we help our children. So if that means you're getting up earlier, look, I'm always going to be a proponent for sleep. Like, sleep as much as you can. The women's female body, we need more sleep than men, right? On different parts of your cycle, listen to that. Sleep more on your menstrual cycle, sleep more on your luteal phase. That's totally fine. But also make a morning routine that is so precious to you, and it will become kind of your cornerstone. Like, it will become something you cannot live without. And you'll notice it if you do, right? But it's just signaling to the body, hey, we're okay, we're safe. So that's where I would start. And just quite literally moving slower. Like, there's not that much in life that you have to rush to. If you find yourself constantly stressed when you're driving, leave earlier than you would. If you have to be somewhere at 8, leave at 7:15. Like, go slower. You can drive slower, you guys. Like, you can go the speed limit. You don't
Yeah.
have to be rushing with
If,
everybody else,
if you
right?
live in Charlotte, pay attention to that. We have
Yeah,
such bad driving out here. It's people
girl.
speed and it's ridiculous.
Same. Same in Colorado. It's ridiculous. If anybody's listening, drive better, y'all. It's ridiculous,
Seriously.
but but just be noticing of that. Like, really notice when you're doing the dishes and you're scrubbing, just slow down.
Yeah.
Slowly wipe the counters. Slowly do the dishes. Put on some Enya, put on some good music. Like, make everything slower. I heard this beautiful quote once, and I'm probably going to mess it up, that was like, everything is a sacrifice when you do it unto God. And not a sacrifice in a like we're sacrificing ourselves, but in a like everything you do is worship to him. Be intentional. When you're doing dishes, when you're doing laundry, when you're working on something, when you're at your laptop, just slow down and be like, okay, God, like, I am doing this for you. This is my worship to you, right? Slow down, take a deep breath. And then a really tangible tool. We talked about the vagus nerve earlier. So when we breathe, our breath has so much power to really heal our bodies. So, one thing that I want you to do for everybody's listening, and I want you to start integrating into your day, and you can do this as many times as you want, is we're going to stimulate our vagus nerve. And how we do that is we inhale for 4 slow breaths through our nose, widening, enlarging our tummy. So, your tummy is expanding as you breathe for 4. And then you exhale for 8. Out through your mouth, your stomach should be shrinking. You should be feeling your core activating. That is the fastest way to activate that nerve that tells our body, hey, we're good. We are all good. Another really great way to activate it is humming. So even when you're doing that exhale on that 8 count, you're going to breathe in. That just activated my vagus nerve and told my body, hey, you're actually really good and you're safe. Safety is a huge proponent in our body, right? We want to recreate safety in our body when we've had a dysregulated nervous system. Safety, we don't even know the word, right? So when we breathe and when we hum, that low humming tone, it activates that vagus nerve. And that's a huge, huge, easy piece that when you start your day out like that and you do that multiple times, like have an alarm clock on your phone to remind yourself every time you think of it. If you're finding yourself stressed and you cannot calm down, activate that vagus nerve. Now, I have to give a quick disclaimer. If you have just been like, oh, I'm probably a little dysregulated, I need to work on it, these things are amazing and they're tools. If you have an actual dysregulated nervous system, more than the average person, right? These are kind of band-aids on an open wound. We have to go and fix them deeply. I'm a resource that you can use. You can come to me and I can help you. You can find another practitioner who specializes in nervous system health. But like, I don't want to make any promises and be like, okay, Mallory, for example, you've been dealing with dysregulated nervous system for 10 years. These things are great things to implement in your life. They're not going to fix anything right now. They're a beautiful thing down the road once you've come to me, once you've come to another practitioner who can like deeply on a deep cellular level work with you personally to heal your nervous system, because we're all different and we're all going to have different issues and problems. So I do want to give that as a disclaimer that I'm giving out tips and like the low hanging tangible fruit that I can give you that everybody should know. But I will say, if you're living with dysregulation and you have for a long time, this is probably not enough to heal on a deep level, but they're really, really great tangible tools that you can take and put into your life.
Yeah, this is good. Also, I think even if you wouldn't say your nervous system is quote unquote dysregulated, but you just want ways to just like what you said about the breathing thing, I think it's really like that's good information is what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah.
you go into a meeting and someone just yells at you and you just need to like calm down so you don't go off on someone like that. This is good
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I think this is a
I can go into kind of like our 3 easy things to regulate our nervous system if you
yeah,
want.
let's do that. And then after that, if there's anything else you want to talk about, and then we'll just wrap it up. So
Okay,
what are some
perfect.
3 things that we could do
Yes.
to regulate?
Yes. Okay. I kind of briefly touched on this, but breathing. Again, that inhale for 4,
Yeah.
exhale for 8. When you find yourself stressed, literally just stop and notice where your breathing is at. Like, literally just take a moment, close your eyes, and be like, okay, my breathing's really short and hurried. Like, I haven't taken a deep breath in a minute. Breathing is a huge tool, and when you become aware of it, and literally a huge thing is just awareness of just silencing ourselves, silencing our cell phones, silencing the world, and just internally noticing what's going on. Breathing is our first big tip. Again, number 2, slow down. Exhale, walk slower. Drop your shoulders like there is not a bear chasing you. You have to force yourself to realize like you're actually okay. Now, again, disclaimer, if you're in an abusive situation, if you're in an unsafe situation, do not try to regulate your nervous system. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. If you're constantly in danger, your brain is telling you that. Don't override that. Don't ignore it. Don't just be like, no, I'll just use my nervous system regulating tips that Ellie told me and like I'll be fine. It's like, no, your body is telling you you're in danger. So always, like we said, listen to your body, listen to what it's telling you. If it's telling you that there's danger and you need to get out, go ahead and listen to that and see if it's applicable. But if you're in a healthy situation, if you're in a safe place and you get an email from your boss and it has kind of a mean tone and all of a sudden you're spiraling and you feel like the world is ending, that's a great time to pause, inhale, exhale, hum on that exhale. Notice what's going on. Drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, literally shake it out. Like, just move. We can move it through our bodies. We can slow down, and we can also, my favorite nervous system regulation tip, you guys, put on some music, dance it out. We hold a lot of tension in our hips. Shake your butt. Like, it is the most healing thing you can do.
Oh, that's
Shake
the
it out,
clip.
dance in the
That'll be the
kitchen. Like, if
title.
you
Shake your butt. It's the most healing thing you'll do.
yes, my professional opinion. No, but it's true. If I had a really hard day, especially at work, or it's been really exhausting, and I know that I need to kind of get into my A game for the rest of the night with the family, I make dinner, I put some music on, and I shake it out. I literally just get it out of my body because it's just sitting there. And I feel better. Like it energizes me, it moves it through my body, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for whatever this evening brings, and I'm in a better mood. And it's teaching our kids, like, hey, when we have these big emotions, when we feel nervous, we dance. Like we literally make it a dance party, right?
So something else I wanted to say really quick too is I feel like slowing down and breathing is also will help you better with responses. I don't know if this is just like a slight tangent, but I've been thinking about this a lot. If you saw the girl on TikTok who went to a author's writing thing, and the author wasn't as cheerful as she wanted her to be, even though this woman has, but to me, I would have lots of grace. I mean, she's meeting thousands of people that are just don't really here, sign this, and they're all in her face. And I guess she, it was toward the end of the day, so she wasn't like, hi everybody, like performing for her. So, this girl goes on TikTok and says how it ruined her day. She couldn't stop thinking about it, this and that. And I just remember thinking, like, I cannot imagine like this stranger like ruining my day. I can be like annoyed. I can see being annoyed because like, you want if this is someone you like, you want them to be happy to see you. But like once again showing them grace. They've been there all day. Nobody has like people probably aren't asking her how she's doing. They're just like begging for her. So like I cannot imagine like being it ruining my day. So when you were saying kind of like that breathing thing and taking time, it just kind of reminded me of that. Like maybe that is a little bit more like when you kind of like making things bigger than they are. Like it just that aligned with me when you said that. You know, this
Yeah,
girl was like
absolutely.
saying how it ruined her day. And it's just like,
Yeah.
that ruined your day? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we can often have such specific perceptions of how people should be, especially if we hold them in a high regard. So that can, the whole saying of like never meet your hero is maybe
Yeah,
a legit thing, right? But it's also like we do live in a world and social media has very much fueled this and we'd even really talk about it today, but we're very reactive. We are very reactive people.
yeah.
And I struggle with it too. I get a hate comment and I'm like,
No, saying,
and I've learned I do not respond to those for at least a few days. Like I have got to
yeah,
give myself time or I will not be nice, and I'll be petty. But if I give myself a few days, I can often respond with kindness because, right, like if somebody's that desperate to leave a hate comment on a video, I cannot imagine the things that are going on in their life, right? Like, so I try to respond with kindness, but it's taken me a long time. Like, y'all, this is very evolved, Illy, okay? Like, you did not need to meet me 5 years ago, okay? I was all sorts of things, and none of them I can say on this podcast. I was very reactive, but to tie that back in, like, that does has to do with your nervous system. If you're constantly living in this fight or flight and you think the world is ending and you're literally, right, that pedal to the floor, every little thing is reactive. We're going to go back to the car thing because it's a good example. When you are pedal to the floor 150 miles per hour, any little thing you're reacting to, right? You swerve just a little bit and you could cause a huge accident. Whereas if you're driving slower and you're noticing, not every little reaction is going to be a life or death thing. And we're the same way, right? Like if we're living in fight or flight, if we're living in that adrenaline fueled state all of the time, everything becomes a reaction. All of my frustrations have to go on the internet so I can be, like other people can tell me that I'm doing the right thing or that I'm wrong.
yeah,
And I mean, it can even be in our personal life, right? If we're in this constant state of reacting, any little thing can completely send us spiraling. And we're calling our mentor, we're calling our life coach, we're calling our therapist, we're calling our friend, like, oh,
yeah,
this
yeah,
thing happened
yeah,
to me. And not to say that you shouldn't share your emotions or rant. We all need time and space to do that. But that shouldn't be your everyday reaction to everyday things, right? Somebody flipping you off in traffic should not bother you your entire day. And if it is, it's like, okay, that's time to listen, right? So going on to my third and final thing, which is funny timing. My final tip on how to regulate your nervous system is put down your damn phone, you guys. Put it down, throw it away. Like it is taking over our lives. And you guys, I'm so guilty of it. Okay. I spend a disgusting amount of time on my phone. It is so bad. It's something I'm actively working on because it completely changes our perception of reality. It feeds into non-existent problems. Again, going back to this example, we are not meant to know everything that is going on in the world, good or bad. And I'll be honest, it's not popular right now for good news, right? Like no news media site is like, guess what? They found a cure to cancer. And like this person did this amazing thing and actually the world is not burning. It's not that at all,
yeah,
right? Like it's literally the world is burning. We have no chance of survival. World War III is probably going to happen. And somewhere, somehow, people are eating babies. Like, that is not news we should be digesting on the daily, right? That's horrific.
yeah,
And so, news, I mean, I encourage people, like, don't watch the news. And if you absolutely have to, limit it to like once a week or every other day, or like start taking down. You do not need to be doing it every day. I promise you, there is nothing in this world. Guess what? If World War III happens, we're going to know about it. We just are. Like, that's the reality. You're not missing out on anything if you don't check the news every morning. I'm certainly not starting your day out with news. But then just the social media piece. And Mallory, you talked about true crime. Look, I get it. Okay. I had to stop for my own mental health, but I get it. They're addicting. It's kind of a feminine pastime to watch. I mean, some
yeah.
could call it education. We're
Sometimes I
just
want to
learning
solve
just
it
in case.
myself.
Exactly. Like, I get it, you guys. I am also just a girl. I fully get it. But as your resident nervous system healer, I would encourage you to be really mindful of the content that you're watching. For me, I'm mindful of what I'm watching in movies, what music I'm listening to. I'll be honest, I cuss like a sailor, so that really doesn't bother me. But I'm also cutting things out like Outlander and Game of Thrones because the graphic violence and the things that were happening towards women were starting to affect me in a really negative way. And TV is supposed to be this thing that you watch at the end of the day to kind of come down and get your mind somewhere else. And when you're constantly reinforcing the bad things that are happening, not only in our world, but in these non existent worlds, it's just one more thing that, especially if you're in these beginning stages of healing your nervous system, I deeply encourage you to take a look at your media and cut certain things out. If I have any book girlies on here, I've stopped reading dark romance because I was just starting to realize how deeply it was affecting me and what it was doing to my nervous system. And like the joke that I often have with clients is if I'm helping you heal your nervous system, like all you are going to be doing for a minute is watching and reading like fluffy, cheesy rom-coms that have no effect on your nervous system, right? You quite literally have to make your life more boring for a little bit because we get addicted. We're like adrenaline junkies in some sense of the term, right? Like and I'll say that, like, adrenaline junkies are their nervous systems are so completely unregulated that it takes years for them to get back into a state of regulation because when we start accepting more and we're watching true crime and we're constantly stimulated and that becomes our reality, we have to basically detox from that. And it's not really a particularly fun thing. So overall, I would say literally simplify your life, boring it down, right? Like make your life boring and it's gonna suck and you're gonna be like, this is not fun. And then there's gonna be this beautiful turning point where you're like, oh my gosh, I actually love this. I like not feeling like I'm being chased by a tiger all the time. And you become addicted to the peace. You become addicted to this feeling of like, I can breathe. And I am not telling you or asking you that like you should live your life like a 90-year-old granny and never do. No, no, no. That's not ever what I'm arguing for. I'm simply saying as we train our nervous systems, it is going to be a hey, we're going to way simplify. We're going to way cut down and we're going to literally make everything softer, kinder, gentler, warmer, and your entire life just slows down and your body finally has a chance to breathe.
Thank you so much, Illy. Is there anything else
You're
you want
so
to
welcome.
add?
I would love to help you. If your nervous system is dysregulated, if you're having health issues, if your emotional place and head is not where a place you want to be, I would love to help you. I do in person if you're in Colorado. I do virtual if you are not. I am currently only serving the US. We're working on getting into Canada. We will leave all of my information below. And also, I have an Instagram page where I talk a lot about nervous system health, everyday life stuff, a lot of health stuff, a lot of mental health stuff. So go ahead and follow me over there. I love making new friends. If you do follow me from here, like let me know and I'll follow you back and we can connect. But yeah, I mean, I would love to connect with you. And if you're going back to what you were saying earlier, if you're kind of feeling the call to walk away from your 9 to 5 and create a life of your like nervous system dreams, I would love to help you. It's my passion to help women create the life that they want to wake up to in the morning. And you're doing great. I know this was a lot of great kind of sad, depressing news, but there are a lot of ways we can heal our nervous systems. You're not broken. It's actually pretty common for everybody to be dysregulated in today's world. And the good news is there's lots of hope, there's lots of answers, and I would be happy to help you if you're interested.
Yay, that was good. I really appreciated this conversation. It has given
Yeah.
me a lot to think about. We'll definitely have to chat.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't chat after today, but we definitely should chat soon. Seriously, like you just got
Yes,
give me like a
absolutely.
lot to think about.
Yeah.
And I really hope everyone listening that you guys learned something. And I think this is a great, absolutely great episode to send to your Christian friends, like, and even non-Christian friends. I just think every woman should know some of these things. Like, we talk a
100%.
lot on the podcast about knowing our cycle. And I also wanted to make the comment you said that we didn't learn it in school. No, we never mentioned any of the phases of the cycle in school. Everything I learned honestly, post educate grad, post
Yep.
education in general. And I think
Yep.
that's what I like about my podcast. There's other podcasts too that talk about it, but I will say in this space, we were the first podcast to be talking about your menstrual cycle. We talked about it before it was cool, I want to say. But I think it's really important that we're just like letting other girls know. And I tell people all the time, like I mentioned earlier, like I am on my period, but like I try to be like, it's good that I have a period because this shows that like I'm regular, like it's a good thing. And, just talking about things in like these positive ways. Anyway, that's just like a tangent. But everyone, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you share it with your friends. I will put all of Illy's information so you can connect with her.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of anything else.
thank you for having me on. This is like such a fun podcast to get on. I feel like so honored that I get to come on again.
Yay! Well, I'm glad. I love having you on, and I love following you. I love your reels, and it's very interesting. And I really like your vibe. Like, I want to be as you just seem very chill and like the whole waking up in the morning thing. I want to be like that. I will
So
talk about
honored.
it like offline, but like right now, anyway, I need miracles in
That
life. But
literally means so much to me. I love the social media
serious,
space and I pour my heart into it. So I'm so glad that like resonates with you. And yeah, I would love to if you're listening, follow me. I literally it like brings me so much joy to connect with other women. So DM me, message me, whatever. Let's chat. And I'm always down to like hop on the phone and chat and all the good things. So thank
yeah.
you again for having me. It like this is the best.
Yay. Okay. Also, she's been on Oops Spoilers. I'll try to remember to link that as well. Elisa's podcast, which is part of the Other Girls Network. Okay, so we really do have to go. So thank you everybody for listening. Connect with Illy, connect with me. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Let us know in the comments on YouTube and Spotify if you have any questions or if, like anything she said has resonated with you, or if you have any tips too. Some simple things that you can do to help deregulate. Leave those in the comments. I think that's it. So have a good day, night, evening, however, wherever you are. Yeah, I think it's